Okay, so let's start the session. Thank you for being patient. And what we are going to talk about is integrated learning. When I use the word learning, I like the ing part the most because that means we and the child is all the time learning. It's something like there's a machine that is going on inside the child, and the child is just learning. So that's the way I look at learning. So it is never this whole thing about the continuous journey of the child is something so amazing and so important, right? So I want to emphasize on that at the beginning itself. So the most beautiful thing about integrated learning, for many of you this might be a new term. If it's a new term, please note it's only a new term. ये एक सिर्फ एक नई term है. Otherwise, this is how we all have been learning all of these years, right? It is nothing new. In fact, before the schooling system came, that is exactly how we all were learning, and even today we all learn in an integrated way. So what does it mean when we say integrated learning? So that's what we are going to spend a little time. There's no one definition for it. So I will explore few aspects of it, and then we can uh, see how uh, uh, it kinds of gets put together. So let's not worry about any definition, right? I want to begin with a little story. Yeah, it's actually not a story. It's a memory of an incident that happened. So there was this group of 7, 8 children. Most of them were in the age group of 6 to 9, and there were about eight or nine of these children. So we were all reading a story, and in the story, what happens is, so while we were reading the story, in the story, the horse, the hero is in a horse carriage, and the horse suddenly stops, and because of that, the hero gets thrown out of the carriage. And that is what happens in the story. So I just asked the children, does that really happen? Does that happen in your life? If you are traveling in a car, if it suddenly stops, do you get thrown out of it? So the children started discussing. Yeah, they were saying, yeah, sometimes I fall off the seat. And then they started thinking, when did they fall off the seat? Then they started thinking, yeah, but I'm not sure if it happens. Some were saying, no, it doesn't happen. It happens only in storybooks. Some said, yeah, it happens. If the car suddenly stops, we tend to get a jerk or on a bike and like that. So there was a lot of discussion on this whole concept. And then we said, oh, do you want to try it out? Yeah, let's see whether this actually happens. So what we did was we left the story, and we went up. We took out some boards and some marbles, and we rolled two marbles together, and we suddenly stopped one marble to see what happens to the other marble. So we started exploring that. Children started trying in many different ways. They took a toy car and put a marble as a driver in the car, and all of that exploration was happening. And then suddenly one child who was holding on to the marbles, waiting for his turn to try it out, he said, my grandfather is very good at playing with marbles. Yeah. And everybody was suddenly, yeah, was interested in knowing what marbles. So he started explaining the games, and he started explaining how in his grandfather time playing marble was like the main game, and they would not have any video games or gadget games, but they would have these marble games, and how they used to enjoy it, and they had championships and all that. So we kind of stopped the science thing, and we went into this direction of what all our grandfathers and grandmothers used to do, and we started chatting about that. While another child said, what are these marbles made up of? So again, nobody was sure what are these marbles made up of. Everybody started looking through the marble. Somebody even licked the marble, and then everybody was laughing. Tu ganda and all that. And then somebody said, it is made up of glass. Okay. And yeah, so we said, okay, no, it can't be. It doesn't look like glass and all that. So then we went on to the Google, said, what are marbles made up of? And indeed, the marbles were made up of glass. right? So then everybody was, oh wow, we didn't know that. Wow, this is a glass thing and cool, man. All of this was happening. And then somebody said, but glass is transparent. You know, you see at this window, there is a glass. I can see from this side to this side, but in marble, I can't really see. Then somebody said, yeah, in marble you can't see, but see, mirror is also a glass now. Then there was this big debate that happened, that whether mirror is a glass or mirror is mirror. No. And for a long time they kept on discussing, and then they went to the mirror and tried seeing what is happening. Then I suggested to them, maybe we need to keep something behind the glass and see if it acts like a mirror. And we kept some clothes behind the glass, and it started looking like a little like a mirror, as in we could see our reflection. And we were saying, hi, how nice, and this, and we can make our own mirror. What can we paint it up with, and all of these things. And then they say, yeah, one child was a Christian, so he said in church, a lot of these glasses are painted with a lot of different designs, and they look so nice. The light also comes in very different, and because it's like a glass painting kind of a thing. So this whole concept of glass painting, then one or two children had done it. They bought a kit from the shop, so they started talking about that yeah, glass painting, this, that, and so on. I can actually go on. The journey goes on, but I just want to pause, and I want you to tell me, what do you think about this little story? As I said, the little story is not yet over, but I don't think I can tell you the whole story, because it goes on. It's like the ing, it is happening. It's not yet complete. It would never be complete. But what do you think about this story? So some thoughts in the chat window. What do you think about this little story? And this happened real. So I am not making this up. This actually happened. All right. Okay, Raghumurthy is saying connecting the dots. Kids naturally has that. Yeah, Gauri is talking about organically growing, curiosity. Yeah, I guess all these points that you have shared. Yeah, there is lots to learn. Yes, there is lots to learn. Infinite, absolutely. But I like these words, connecting the dots, organically growing, curiosity. Yeah, Rahul, it is fun learning, but Rahul is saying it's fun learning, but the fun is only I would say, is the side effect. It is not the learning itself is not about having fun. The learning is about something else. Yeah, curiosity, about growing, about the way they live, the way they are open-minded, says Sudhir. Yeah, and Krishna is talking about all directions of learning. Yeah. Darshan is saying children are naturally in all directions and exploring life. Yeah, there's no boundary, thinking and flowing. So if you're with me in this story, if you see how beautifully this river just doesn't take one course, it goes here and there and there and here. Yes, questions lead to another questions, another explorations, and there were many points of views. Yeah. So the whole thing is what I call as integrated learning. This to me is a very simple day-to-day example of how children are naturally integrated learners. They don't think in terms of now they are talking science, and now they are talking language, and now they are talking, let's say history, or now they are talking relationships. They don't. They just flow from one thought, one curiosity, one imagination to another. Just like so many of you have said, like branching out like a tree, or one flowing into another like a network. In fact, these little illustrations of how the various threads of life become the rope or the thread, and that is how we live. We live, in a kind of an integrated way. Right. So if we can if we kind of understand that, then we are on it. Then we are understanding that what is integrated learning? So one way to look at integrated learning is saying that, hey, integrated learning is like having a party, right? Where the party isn't realized um, uh, into anything. Yeah, like how Sudhir is saying, it's not compartmentalized or it's not broken down. Um, it is not about spatialization. Even when I am doing spatialization, even there I bring in so many different forms of learning all together for me to learn one thing together. Right? Let us say if I was a farmer, right? Let's say I am a farmer and I want to. I'm taking the example of the farmer because people think farmers are illiterate, which is absolutely a grossly wrong statement according to me. They are extremely well learned people. That's why I'm taking the example of a farmer. So let us say a farmer. Now, how does a farmer work? His is a specialized field. He is doing farming, let's say growing whatever, let's say vegetables or fruits. But in his growing of vegetables and fruits, or whatever else he is growing, there is so many things involved. There is economy involved, there's mathematics involved, there are patterns involved, there is scientific observation involved, there is weather science involved, there's obviously language which he needs to talk to people whom he sells his produce, and how he or she interacts with the world, uh, and so on. So there is so much in within a specialization. So we are not really saying that only one thing needs only one thing. No, one thing needs many things. And that is the beauty of learning. So when in life we need to have so many things, then why in learning we need to compartmentalize or go in different direction? Why can't we just have a party of all the things that we are related to, right? That is what to me is integrated learning. Yeah. Uh, I also like to give this analogy. It's one of my favorite of how do I make a friend? If you think about how do you make a friend with somebody? Okay. Now you don't make a friend with somebody in one day, right? You go and let's say you met a new person today. Maybe uh, you talked with that new person today, and let's say for 20 minutes, and you got to know him or her. Maybe you got that person's WhatsApp number. Okay. Now, but that doesn't mean that you have become friends. No, 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 no. In 20 minutes, you don't become friends. But maybe let's say next week you met again, you spoke on the phone, exchanged some WhatsApp messages. So you became a little more friend. And then let's say next weekend you went out for a cup of tea or a little treat together or to a coffee house. So you got to know each other a little more. And then he invited you or she invited you for a dinner, and then you got to know her more. And then you started working on something together, maybe did shopping together, then you got to know her more, and so on, so on, so on. Maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, maybe after a few years, you would say, now she's my good friend. But so you realize the friendship did not happen, neither it happened in one particular way, nor it happened in one particular uh, aspect of life. You could be eating together, talking together, doing things together, and doing entertainment together, and so on. So these connections, which I think Darshan is talking about in the chat, is something, while they happen naturally, but you see over a period of time how these layers get built up. And in some ways, learning also works the same way. I often say learning is like making a friend, right? If I'm doing farming, as I gave you the example earlier, then when I'm doing farming, I'm making friends. I'm making friends with water. I'm making friends with irrigation. I'm making friends with the weather, right? Understanding the climate change, understanding seasons and all that. I'm making friends with how to sow. I'm making friends with the skills required to dig and till and so on, or manage the bulls or the tractor to, plow my field. At this in the same way, when a little child is working, let's say a child is learning mother tongue, right? How does a child learn mother tongue? The child makes friends with one word at a time, right? But if you say one word today, the child wouldn't make friends with it today, but the child will hear the word today from you, then tomorrow from somebody else, then day after from somebody else, and soon the child will kind of put it all together. That is also integrated learning, where I don't learn in just one way or from one source, where learning comes to me, flows to me from many, many sources, through many, many interactions, in many, many time spaces, till I make a friend with that learning. Some of you are friendly with painting. Some of you are friendly with, let's say, running. Some of you are friendly with mathematics. So each one of us is differently friendly. And that is how the child learns. Child learns to make more friends with somebody and some concepts. And that's how the child learns a whole lot of skills, isn't it? And that is what is integrated learning. Let's see what else is integrated learning. Yeah. So let me ask you a very rhetorical question. Now, who is the best teacher to your child? Yeah. So that's a simple question. Who is the best teacher to your child? Okay. The answer obviously is the child himself or herself. And why is the child the best teacher to herself is again seeped in how children naturally learn from themselves, from their observations, from their thinkings, from their conclusions, even though their conclusions might be wrong many a times. Let us say a child comes to you and says, uncle or auntie, whoever you are, says that because trees move, we get wind. That's what the child says. The child says, because trees are moving, we are getting wind. What would you say to that child? Let's say a child is 5-year-old or 6 years old, and the child is saying, because trees move, we get wind. That is what the child is saying. So go ahead, put it in the chat window. What will you say to this child? What would be your immediate reaction when the child says, the trees move, so we get wind? Yeah, please go ahead. Type in chat window, whatever your reaction would be. Darshan is saying, tell me what makes you think that way, tell more. Deepa is also asking, we'll ask him to explain. So he is saying, yeah, this is what I've seen. Whenever the trees move, that's when I feel the wind. Yeah. Moving as in waving, Gitu. So he's not really talking about moving as in how we move. Here the child is more talking about how the tree is waving and he or she is thinking the tree is waving, and that is how we get the wind. Okay, Mohit is saying, I'll make a tree move and ask him, did he feel some wind? And my question to Mohit, to you is, why are you doing that? Why are you shaking the tree and asking the child that did he feel some wind? Gauri is asking, is there any other way you think it would happen? Again, my question to you first is, why are we asking this? Yeah. The child has come up with a theory, with a way of looking at things. And I think to me, it's more important, or is that the child is, Kanika and Rahul saying we should appreciate the child. I would say, yeah, maybe that is one way to look at it. We can appreciate, we can experiment, we could do a lot of things, but I would say, hang on. Don't say anything for now. Uh, uh, let's not even build a conversation, because the child is already in conversation. Or rather, let's not even worry about building a learning. Let's just look at what is happening here. What is happening is that the child is thinking. right? We don't need to build anything. The child is already building. I think first, before we jump on to the science or the observation or whatever, or whatever the child is doing, we should realize what is the child doing. Okay, let me focus on this word. The child is doing construction, right? The child is building already something in his mind. The child is building his own thoughts. The child is building his own learning, no matter whether that's a right learning or a wrong learning. It just doesn't matter. What matters is that the child is building. And slowly, today he has come up with a theory and told you this. Tomorrow he will tell this theory to somebody else, or he will gather more data. And so Mohit is saying to build his observation. Yeah, but let's not. All of you are fine. I'm not saying don't do what you are saying. Please do that, but don't hurry into it. We tend to hurry too much into, child is learning now. Let me pull in all the gyan and let's get on with this whole understanding about weather and wind. And no. I'm saying, hang on. There is a deeper, bigger construction process going on inside the child's mind. Can we just receive it? Can we just be with the child's thought? वो क्या सोच रहा है? What is the child thinking? How is the child relating? What is the child relating to? And so on. We can just listen and wait. What will happen tomorrow? What will happen day after? I'm no hurry to tell the child, no, let's go shake the tree. And there's nothing wrong with it. And don't take me wrong. I'm saying, but if we understand how the child is going to not just end his learning or his construction there, the child is going to uh, uh, we are going to the child is going to slowly gather more and more data, more and more observation. The child is going to interact with other children, and he's going to slowly build this beautiful learning that is going on inside the child's mind. And even at the end of it, let's say even after 1 year, the child thinks that it's the tree which moves the wind. I would say it still grew it, because in that whole process, it's the child's thinking that has got developed. Uh, yes, Gauri, this approach is the basic approach in which all children learn, right? A small child, that's how the child learns, for example, vocabulary or colors or directions. And the older children learn about so many other things: life, business, social relationship. You ask a businessman, how did you learn business? He would say exactly this way: oh, by making mistakes. So adults learn like that. Me and you learn like that. uh, uh, mm, uh, uh, how Gauri, you are learning at this age is exactly this way. You do something, it fails, it doesn't work, you try something else. Whether you are running a business, whether you're running a home, whether you're running a family, whether you're just running yourself. In the same way, very small children too are completely constructors. They're all the time. They heard a new word from today. Let's say they heard the word bank from your mouth. They yet don't know what is bank. They don't care, but they have heard the word bank. Then tomorrow somebody says, I'm going to the bank. So he might even say, get me an ice cream. And then you say, no, bank, there is no ice cream. Now he has learned one more thing. He has learned bank, and he has learned banks don't serve ice cream. Then another day he hears his father talking, this is my bank account number. And he's wondering, what is this bank place where there is something sold as an account number? So he may go and ask, I also want an account number, right? And so on. Are you getting me? The child is collecting all the data, constantly playing around with that data and creating his own beautiful, I would say, building of learning, construction of learning. Yeah, that is why uh, uh, we Jean Piaget. Many of you might have heard of him. He was a very, very important figure in the field of education. He said, "Don't teach the child. Don't hurry to teach the child, because don't take away the opportunity for the child to discover it himself." Yeah. So we don't need to. That's what Piaget said about 100 years back. And I think we need to go back to Piaget and learn from him. Yes, we need to give children the opportunity to discover it himself. We don't need to hurry with anything. So a lot of integrated learning is about understanding this process of construction. And that is what in our program we'll talk in far more detail. What is this process and how is the child doing it? And then we realize, then we start thinking, what can we do about it? Yeah. Um, so that is also integrated learning, the construction part. Yeah. Rahul, you are saying kids' world is different from ours. Only different in terms of the amount of information you have, Rahul, and the amount of information children have. Otherwise, I would say their world and our worlds are exactly the same. Just at this, whatever age you are, Rahul, you are also using construction every single day to create your own understanding of people, of, for example, COVID. Nobody knows what was COVID when it came. Slowly, people are constructing their understanding about how to live in these times, how to keep yourself safe, what exactly is this virus, how can we do this, how can we do our businesses during these days. So you see, we are all in the business of constructing our new model of living in this COVID times. So we are all constructors. So Rahul, our world is very similar in terms of children. We are not more knowledgeable. When COVID came, suddenly it showed us how less knowledgeable we are. Right. So let's not think that, oh, we are very knowledgeable and the children are less knowledgeable. No. All of us have the same world, this beautiful world of constructing. And if we understand that, then we are understanding integrated learning. Yeah. Let me move ahead. uh, I want to share one more few more thoughts with you. The whole idea of learning, suppose I say apple right now, right? What comes to your mind? All right, I'm just saying the word apple. What comes to your mind? Right? Maybe fruit comes to your mind. What comes to your mind? Maybe you can type in chat window. When I say apple, what comes to your mind? Maybe laptop comes to somebody's mind, or their phone comes to my mind. Parul says red and sweet comes to her mind, right? So what is your mind doing? I say a word, okay, and your mind starts making these connections, right? Somebody may think of apple pie. Okay, Roy is saying keeps the doctor away. Kanika is saying round. Nilam is saying MacBook. So you realize how we are all have different connections, and that is the other aspect of learning. We make learning by making these connections. Now, if you say, how would a child learn how to subtract? I would say, we don't need to teach him. Do we really? Do we need to have teaching? Or will the child learn that because the child is all the time connecting to quantities? Now, I remember when my daughter was very young, not even two, I asked her that she was eating chiku or sapota, you know, and I said, can I take two slices from you? And she immediately refused. No. And I said, why? She said, I'll have less. There you go. She is understanding subtraction. She may not know 5 slices minus 2 is equal to 3 yet, but she's already knowing the concept that if I have 5 and my appa takes away 2 slices, then I'll be only left with 3, and I'm not okay with that. Right? So how do children learn subtraction? And for that matter, how does anybody learn anything? Is because we keep making connections, because these things keep happening all the time. Maths, for that matter, keeps happening all the time in our life. When you go to a shop, when you do anything with your let's say stuff that you have, how many dresses I have, I want to buy one more, I want to buy one less. So young children have maths all around them, and older children like us, me and you, also have maths all around us. So just taking an example of how maths, if we just embrace this whole connections that we make with maths, whether we do shopping, whether we do serving food to so many people, whether we do sharing of a pizza or so on, everything is right there. And if we can just let the child make these connection, and work with these connection, rather than saying, no, now it's maths time, let's understand subtraction, open your notebook. That's one way, nothing wrong with that. But if you understand integrated learning, you will not worry about that notebook, that worksheet so much. You will see, hey, where all the child is already connecting this particular concept. Anything, whether it's science, whether it's maths, whether it's social relationships, whether it's emotions, all the things are connected, isn't it? And that is how we live life, right? So whether you're thinking of apple pie or Apple or Mac, right? The whole thing is, as Maria Montessori uh, very emphatically said, is that the process develops spontaneously. These connections are made by the child very spontaneously. So it is not something that the teacher needs to do. That is what Maria Montessori is saying. She's saying it is a natural process which develops spontaneously in the human being. And I'm happy that she didn't say in children, because obviously it happens in children and it happens in all of us. This whole idea of making and looking for connections. Once we realize that, then we can move with this neural connections that our child is making all the time and help the child make many, many, many more. The more connections I'm assuming, more the child would not just learn in terms of knowledge, but learn because all the connections show the whole world in a very related way, and the child will be able to take one learning from one area and put that learning in another area. Yeah. So the child can even come to the conclusion that even though I may lose my chiku slices, but I will gain a relationship or a friendship. So children do that. At some point, they will come and are ready to share their toys or their chocolates because they want to give away their stuff, which is subtraction, but they want to gain a friend, which is addition, right? So the concepts are getting added, right? That's the good thing. The concepts don't get subtracted. Yeah. Okay. Uh, a lot of us like when our children are doing something, right? We even send them to activity classes or workshops and stuff like that. The question that I want to ask you is a little different. Why do you want the child to do any activity? Any activity. Let's say the child wants to paint. Why do you want? Okay, let's take this painting example. Why would you like the child to paint? Or why do you think that that's a good activity or decent activity? Yeah. Um, but Kanika, when you say learning happens by doing, I'm asking, but what learning are we talking about? What learning is the child doing when the child is painting? Okay. Darshan is saying for the joy the child will get. Okay. But that's the child's joy. Yeah. The child may get it in many different ways. Deepa is saying to activate neurons. That's interesting. Okay, so let me give you a small activity. Somebody's talking about hands-on experience. So let's do a little hands-on experience, right? Since you talked about that, I want you to take your left hand and just see. Maybe start with your little finger. Okay, so see where all can you touch with your little finger. How many points does it touch? Come on, go ahead. Explore your little finger. Then explore your ring finger. See where all in your own hand. So just play around, don't use the other hand straight away. And then see where all each finger can touch. And see what is the capability of each finger or what is the limitation of each finger. And why is it designed like that? I don't know. What all thoughts are coming to your mind as you are exploring your own hand? And as you're exploring, if there's any thought coming, please share. Okay, somebody's saying it's anatomy. And why would we have this kind of anatomy? If you can think about that also. Or maybe you're already thinking, maybe you just kept the sharing in the chat window brief. So we are doing this activity of exploring where all my fingers, and are there points where one finger is able to touch but the other finger is not able to touch, right? Have you realized that there are some points which one finger can touch but the other finger can't touch? At least in my hand it is like that. I don't know how it is with your hand. Jasmine is saying thumb has the max reach. So why should thumb has the max reach? What is it doing? Are there some points the thumb can't reach but others can reach? Thumb can rotate. Okay, interesting. What else? I'm sure there are many more thoughts that you are discovering as you are discovering. I don't know if you knew all of this before. Maybe now you can even use the other hand and see if I can push my fingers to, go in different ways. Neelam is saying thumb can touch every fingertip. Yup. Sudhir is calling it as interdependence. Yes. Right. So what did we do? We just did a very small activity just now. And what did we do? What we did was we activated. We activated our minds. We activated our senses. We obviously activated our hands. So if you ask me, what does an activity do? I said, activity is not to learn anything. As somebody said, it is only to fire my neurons. Activities is to activate. And if we start thinking of it that way, that an activity is to activate me, my neurons, my senses, my thinking, right, my memory, all of this gets activated, isn't it? My every part of my body and mind gets activated when I do anything. Whether you do painting, whether you do gardening, whether your child does cooking, whether your child does running, whether child does jumping, whether your child does throwing, there is so many things are getting activated. And if you could realize that, then we will value the activation more rather than the so-called learning. If a child comes back from his painting class, what does the mother ask or father ask? What did you learn today? I would say, oh, you went to a painting class, which means you were doing something there. And to me, that activation is more important than the, you know, than the big painting that the child brings. In fact, when we work with children, a lot of times, earlier days when we were in Bangalore, now we are in a village, but earlier when our center was in Bangalore, a lot of parents would complain, but my child doesn't bring anything home. He said he did painting, but he doesn't bring any painting home. I said, yeah, because that's not important. What the child made is not important. What the child got activated on, isn't that important? So let's say the child is making a sandwich and burns the sandwich. But that is so beautiful because that is so much of activation, isn't it? In the same way with painting, in the same way with running or throwing or playing football or whatever the child is wanting to do. So I think we need to move away from the result of a learning. And when you look away from the result, if you remove the result of doing anything, then you realize that integrated learning is all about this activation that so beautifully is happening inside the child's mind, body, senses, and everything. And then we start valuing what is in the hand, as in the doing part, rather than the result part. That is integrated learning. So what did John Dewey say? John Dewey said, give the pupils something to do, not something to learn. How beautiful. And he has also said this about 100 years back. And he's read in every B.Ed, M.Ed course. And yet we are so worried about the end results, right? So he's saying, give people something to do, not something to learn. And then the doing is of such a nature that it demands thinking. The learning will naturally happen. I would say, Kanika, even the steps of learning are not important. Each child, if you give children just let's say a ball of dough and say, do whatever you feel like with this dough. Somebody will make something, somebody will follow some steps, somebody will follow it totally different. Somebody will make a little teddy bear out of it. Somebody will think of making chapati out of it. Somebody will start rolling it and make a snake out of it. So each one may even use many different steps. Yeah. Yes, the fruit part is not important if we realize the activation part. So what we can do is activate that. We can add to the activation. But the problem is we end up getting caught up with the result. We getting caught up with how the painting was. This painting isn't looking good, or show me your painting, or show me the end results, show me your marks, show me did teacher give you a star, show me the praise and appreciation. But praise, appreciation, and everything is all about end results. But learning is not about results. Learning is about that activation, that is happening inside my mind when I'm doing something. And that is what I am asking. I'm inviting you to consider, to enjoy, to enrich, to explode actually. Because once we can explode this activation, there is so intense a learning, the child can take it anywhere. Then the results will automatically follow. Yeah. Okay. One more aspect of integrated learning is that it integrates our life as a whole, and it realizes that there are so many colors in our life. There's so many intelligences in uh, there to offer. When I'm going for a walk, I just don't need to walk. I can talk, I can see, I can enjoy, I can feel, I can do so many things. I can count, right? Just last week, one child made this little drawing. Uh, uh, and if you can see the drawing on your screen now, I'm asking you, how can we invite the child to see how the body is involved in it, and logic is involved in it, and music is involved in it, and nature, and even people are involved in it. Can I start looking for who all looks like this? uh, who all can we talk about this? What are the visual designs? What is the logic of these patterns? Or what is where which all music flows with this, and so on. We can build on this one drawing in 8 different directions, right? Is so beautiful. All right. So I can add any layer. It's like the roti or the dosa on which you can add so many layers, or the pizza on which you can add so many fillings. Now this drawing can invite so many fillings. You can invite the fillings of emotions. What is this whatever creature whom you have drawn, what feelings is he going through, or what thoughts he has, or what kind of house would he like, or does he live in jungle, or does he live in here, or is it even a creature, is it something else, is it a portrait of something in something? So we can go on, we can put as many you can say beautiful ingredients on this, or on whatever the child is doing. So I say we can garnish the pizza or the roti or the dosa in so many different ways. And if we understand these 8 intelligences, we can make their life 8 times more. Not just life, I would say anything that they're doing can be done, can be made enjoyed 8 times more. Even a song, even a movie, even a walk, even this drawing. Yeah, somebody's saying it looks like a car, somebody's saying it looks like a monster. I don't know what it is, how does it matter? Okay, I see Neelam is saying inverted owl. So you are seeing what it is, but you can also see the patterns. You can also see the logic. You can see the music. What kind of a song this, whatever this drawing is, what kind of song does it represent, or what kind of music does it inspire you to sing? Okay, I see a couple of comments. Let me address those. Ashwa is saying, uh, even a focus on doing or getting the child to do something can be a burden. Uh, I'm not sure I've understood your thought. You don't need to get children to do things. Children want to do things. Uh, the problem happens when we divide that into something which is called as a task or a subject, or we kind of we kind of split the learning, and that is where the problem comes in. But when they are naturally doing, if they're naturally drawing this, I can naturally bring in music in it, logic in it, nature in it, people in it, and I can go on putting so many things. Absolutely. So Pashwa, what you are saying is yes. So we can. That is one way of activation. Is what we call as collateral learning. When the children see that you are doing something, and then you interact with the child, and the child interacts with you, and the sparks fly both ways. Yeah, that is the beauty of learning. That is the interpersonal nature of learning, or what we also say is the collateral nature of learning, where if you are cooking something and I'm sitting next to you, and let's say making a drawing, I'm invariably also getting connected to what you are doing and what you are getting connected. That's the connection I was talking about just a little time back. So that is anyway going to happen. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, yeah, Sudhir. So it is, yes, when we put structure rules, I'm not sure it's, if we put that with an understanding of integrated learning, then it can multiply the learning. I'm not saying structure is bad or rules are bad. Remember, a game is only interesting because it has rule. It won't make me any sense to play tennis with you, Sudhir, if there is no net. You know what I mean? So I'm not against structure or rules. I'm saying the structure and the rules can come with an understanding of how we all learn, an understanding of integrated learning. That's what I'm talking about. So I am not against rules. I'm not against structures. Uh, so here, Howard Gardner is saying anything that is worth teaching can be presented in so many different ways. These multiple ways use our multiple intelligences. Uh, so the whole idea is, uh, at least what we are talking here, is that uh, we seem to be living to learn. At least in the childhood, if I ask a child what is your profession, the child would say education, and I think that's very sad. Education is not a child's profession. Schooling is not a child's profession. Schooling, education is a lifelong thing. Living is the only profession that we and you have. And when we are living, we automatically learn. That is the beauty of life. And the living has rules also, structures also, give and takes also, connections also, immersions also, journeys also, constructions also, everything. That is why living is the most integrated thing that we do, because everything comes to us. Relationships, emotions, in your day to day, you get everything in your day. You get your maths, and you get your herds, and you get your this, and you get that. You get everything. But what we need to do is understand that we seem to have left this understanding, and I've been showing you so many quotations. So people, educators have been talking about this, but we seem to have gone somewhere else, right? Like how Swami Vivekananda is underlining the very essence of living. The very essence of living is problems. Otherwise, you're not living. If there's no challenge, if there is no constraint, if there's no jostling, if there is no fight, if there's no argument, there is no love affair, right? Any husband wife here don't fight, but that's the very basis of loving. That's the very basis of living. So that is what we are talking about, the understanding of the whole process of integrated learning. And if we can do that, and it's not very difficult, it's very, very simple, because whatever I talked about is all happening around you, with you and with your child. If you start understanding this and start seeing how we can now pick this understanding and start kind of putting it together so that we can enrich the child's life and child's learning. Whether the child goes to school, doesn't go to school, is unschooling, open learning, that all does not matter. What really matters is that can I get, can I build on these insights and ideas, which I can do at home very, very simply. So this is what we are doing or proposing in this program. We're going to do a program of 15 sessions, where 6 sessions would be about the 8 intelligences. 6 sessions would be about understanding how we can create and use experiences, explorations, experimentations, expressions, expansion, and enrichments. And uh, uh, and we will have 3 sessions where we kind of realize how we put it together, how we implement it in our day-to-day life. So that's the program I'm inviting you. And even if you don't join the program, okay, I would invite you to understand these processes in learning, because we can create magic just by this understanding. Yeah. And and to help you do that, as I said, we have this program of 15 online sessions. We are going to do it twice a week. It's going to start from 3rd September, so there's still some time. And we have kept the sessions in the night so that everybody can finish their day's work and then attend the session without any disturbance. So 9 to 10:30. Obviously, we'll have a lot of interactions. We'll possibly form a WhatsApp group and share a lot of things. We have kept a contribution amount, but we still work. Always we have worked with AKSD, which means you give as much uh, you want to give. So it's apni khushi se do is what we call it. Yeah. Um, so here are so this program we are it's co-created by Arohi, which I represents, and House of Learning, which Sonal represents. And we these are our details. Sonal, if there is a link where people can register, if you can put that in the chat window, that would help people
Yeah,
if
I'll
they
just
want to do that. Yeah. Uh, if you want to just talk about more about integrated learning, um, and share your thoughts, we would, if you're part of the WhatsApp group, you can share there. Some of you have registered through the WhatsApp group, so you can do that. If you if you want to connect with us, talk to us, please feel free. Um, the program is for adults. Sudhir, it's for parents and educators. It is not for children. It is for you to understand how you can add value to your child. So I'm just going back to this slide. So you can empower the child, right? Um, and uh, uh, Sudhir is asking for some flyers. Okay, Sudhir, are you part of any e-group? Sorry, WhatsApp group where we can do that, or maybe you can, yeah, look up our website. Okay, so Sonal is putting the link where you can register, or you can read more about on the website. This link would also show you what the different session would in detail, little more detail would contain, so you can see whether this is something that you are looking for. We'll obviously be recording the program, so you can also see the sessions. If you miss any sessions, we will be posting it for you to see the recording, right? Uh, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share in this 1 hour. Sorry, we started about 10 minutes late, but I think we made up for that time. Um, Sudhi, there is no need of a separate program. We are not talking about whether you are part of NGO or education or a parent. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we work with learning and we work with children, and that is what it matters. If we understand the process of learning better, okay, then we can make so much more difference to it. So it is not just little related to parents, Sudhir. All educators, whether you're working with an NGO or with a school, preschool, um, especially parents who are young parents who would like to explore this. I see a lot of energy in young parents of today, and you would like to do this because then you can continuously look at your child's own evolution as the child grows older and older, and you can see how you can add value to the child's learning. Yeah. So thank you very much. We will also send you the link, so you don't have to worry if from the um, uh, yes, Rupal, whether you are transitioning to homeschooling or yes, definitely this will definitely work because the child, if the child is at home, which anyway the child is at home, whether the child is going to a school or homeschooling or unschooling or open learning, the child is always with you in that sense, meaning not in terms of time, but on a daily basis. So you can make a lot of difference to the child. So it will help irrespective of where your child is, because we are trying to understand the process of learning and value adding to it. Yeah, so thank you very much, and stay connected. Please feel free to connect with us even if you're not joining the program. That's okay. We can still learn a lot from each other. We can share a lot of things with each other, so stay connected. Yeah, thank you very much.
thank
um,
you, Ratnesh. Thanks a lot for the session.